after all this time of waiting and wondering when Alex Poatan Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev would happen, when it would go down, finally it's been announced. UFC 313, March the 8th, it goes down. And I guess during Ramadan, Ankalaev just sucked it up and decided, you know what? Screw it. I've been waiting for this fight. I want my title shot. Alex wants to fight in March. That's the fight that's available in March, excuse the ad. And that's the fight that they're going to go with. I mean, originally they were saying his next defense was going to be Ankh, but we don't know the date, assuming they were trying to accommodate Ankh with Ramadan. But then I'm hearing that they were going to try to do Topuria Volk for this card, but Topuria needed extra time to make the weight. So fair play, here it is. And I mean, man, UFC 313 is looking like a banger. I know so far there's not many other big fights on this card. I mean, Tapology, how many fights? I mean, okay, I don't think that this card placement is complete, to say the least. I don't think this card placement is complete. I think it's half done. So whatever you're seeing right now, I don't think this is what the card is going to look like within the next week. I reckon headed into next week, or maybe even throughout this week, they might announce some surprise bangers on this card. This has to be a stacked pay-per-view. There's no way they're going to leave us with just a two-fight headliner like UFC 312. And speaking of 312, why isn't Dan Hooker fighting on that card? I mean, I guess he didn't have an available opponent. I guess Gaethje only wanted March and not February, so whatever. These are the fights that we're getting, but I mean, I cannot complain. I cannot wait for both of these fights. Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker has brain damage written all over it. But I mean, the main event, man, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. I'm just trying to open up like the full screen if that's possible. Okay, matchup page. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. So Magomed Ankalaev, Alex Pereira, it is a long time coming. And for me, I mean, I think this is everyone's mindset going into this fight. If it's not Ankalaev, it's no one. The only man to beat Alex Pereira at 205 that has the right style, the right skill set, is Magomed Ankalaev, because he does have wrestling in his back pocket. Now, I understand that he hardly uses it in his fights. I get it. He's not really known as a wrestler. He's mainly a striker who can wrestle. And sometimes he makes the mistake of waiting until it's too late to wrestle. Waited until Blachowicz deaded his legs to start going Dagestan mode on him in like the 4th and 5th round. I know that actually the stats show that he went like 2 for 11 on takedowns. So I guess he was attempting a lot of takedowns. And I guess it wasn't until Blachowicz gassed out when he was actually starting to have success with the wrestling. Or maybe Ankh kind of half-assed the takedowns and didn't diligently work for them until the late rounds. But in this fight against Alex Pereira, Magomed cannot be the striker who sometimes wrestles. He has to be the wrestler full on in this fight, because that is the only way he's going to win. And I could easily see him dominating Poatan if he just wrestles. And I know, easier said than done. I know Alex Pereira is evolving in his MMA game. I know he's going to be prepared to defend takedowns, to, get back to his feet and stay safe on the ground. I mean, not like Magomed does much on the ground anyway. He's got no submission threat. He does have some decent ground and pound, but I mean, against Blachowicz, he mainly just held him down. So I do hope that Magomed does work on his submissions, does work on his ground and pound. He does need to offer up some kind of threat when he does get Alex down, to, fully convince the judges, not just show you're laying on him, but to also give Poatan something to worry about. But of course, if Magomed Ankalaev goes out there and tries to test the stand-up of Alex, because he is saying he's going to try to knock him out. He's not going to wrestle him, but Jan Blachowicz said the same thing, and what did he do? He came out there like he was Khamzat Chimaev and immediately went for a takedown, immediately got it, and dominated the first round. And arguably won the whole fight because the entire time he was wrestling, and his cardio failing him at altitude ultimately costed him the fight. But if Magomed Ankalaev can start wrestling early in this fight against Alex, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed win because, every round starts on the feet. Alex could maybe come back in between rounds and maybe he could lose one round in the wrestling, come back, and then finish Ankh in the next. That is possible. I could easily see that happening. But it's worth a shot. It's more worth the risk of just striking. Because if it is just striking, Ankalaev's getting slept. He got dropped by the ghost of Thiago Santos. And we know Poatan has the touch of death. He hits way harder than Thiago Santos. And his calf kicks are way better than that of Jan Blachowicz. Like the striking, it is all Alex Pereira. I don't care if Magomed Ankalaev is a southpaw striker. Because we've seen, honestly, being southpaw means nothing against Alex. That is a myth. When you go southpaw, he can still use his calf kicks, like we saw when Yuri tried to go southpaw. And, I think Adesanya went back and forth between stances. He was still getting his legs torn apart. Roundtree was southpaw. He was giving Alex a good fight. He still got broken down and finished in the late rounds. Jamal Hill, southpaw. It may have taken away the calf kicks, but it didn't take away the left hook. So I don't think Ankh being in the southpaw stance is going to keep him safe from either the left hook or the calf kicks. So yeah, Ankh needs to get this fight to the ground. Early, he needs to get him down early, and he needs to get him down often. As far as who do I think is going to win this fight, it's really hard to go against Alex Pereira because he's so dominant, 5-fight win streak. It's just hard to see this guy losing, even though I did say Ankalaev could beat him with just his wrestling alone if he approaches it the way Jan approached it. But it's not guaranteed. Like, you can't rely on these light heavyweights to fight smart against Alex. Literally everyone who fights Alex fights dumb. They played it as game. Yuri Prochazka could have used more grappling in that first fight when he got that easy takedown the first time in round 1. He didn't. He stuck with the striking and wasn't patient and got finished. Jamal Hill could have tried to explore grappling against Alex to throw him off. He didn't. He got knocked out. So I don't fully trust that Ankalaev is going to fight a smart fight. And I could see him waiting until it's too late, playing with fire for too long, and then eventually getting knocked out before he even gets a chance to wrestle. And it could happen in like the first round, maybe the second round. It's a 50-50 matchup, but either way, I'm very excited because I know that this could be the one. Ankalaev from Dagestan could be the chosen one to dethrone Alex Poatan Pereira. But of course, if Poatan goes out there, smokes him, there's nothing left for him except for going up to the heavyweight division. I don't want to see that Prochazka trilogy because even though I am a Prochazka fanboy, I know Alex is going to go 3-0 over Pereira or Prochazka, and I'm not trying to see that. I'm not trying to see another Holloway-Volkanovski situation. I do not like when my favorite fighters go 0-3 to the same fighter, but we're going to see what happens. And then Justin Gaethje versus Dan the Hangman Hooker. No, I clicked on Dan Hooker. I'm trying to click on the matchup. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can... You know what? Hold on. This is what I'm going to do. Hold on. Alright. Justin Gaethje versus Dan the Hangman Hooker. Sorry for the complications. Whew. I'm just going to say right off the bat, I do think Justin Gaethje is going to win. But I would not be shocked if Dan Hooker pulled it off. Dan Hooker, ever since he went blonde, this dude has turned a new leaf. This guy has been on quite a resurgence. He went from going on that L streak to then bouncing back against Claudio Puelles, and then going to war with Jalen Turner, beating him, and then going to war with Gamrot, beating him, which is actually a very impressive victory. But he's going up against Gaethje, man. And Dan Hooker, he's very hittable. He takes damage in literally every single fight. I know he has a good chin. I know he has very good striking as well. And arguably, he might be more technical than Justin Gaethje, who loads up on big, meaty hooks. Shout out Lucas Tracy and big overhands. Um, but they land, and when they land, they're very damaging. I think Gaethje's got better leg kicks. Dan has good leg kicks. He's got good calf kicks. Not better than Justin Gaethje's. Now, Dan does have pretty good body shots, which could actually be a good factor in this fight. He could maybe break down Gaethje with punches to the body, slow him down, and eventually come up top to the head. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Hooker could shin Justin Gaethje. And Justin also has a bad habit of hunching over under pressure. I mean, Max Holloway was trying to spin kick him to the body, not to the nose. Max Holloway broke his nose by accident with a spin kick to the body because Gaethje is so dumb and loves to dip his head. And Hooker could capitalize on a moment like that, and Gaethje could catch a knee to the face, a vintage Hangman knee to the face, and get knocked the F out by Dan Hooker. Dan also finishes with his combinations. Like, he follows through with his combinations. He throws extended combos. He doesn't just throw ones and twos. He'll throw 1, 2, 3s. Like, Dan Hooker is a high volume striker. And that could also play to his advantage. But I don't know. Gaethje fights are so tricky to predict because he goes from underperforming in the biggest fight of his life, and then he comes back and overperforms when I least expected. I picked against him against Oliveira, but I thought he'd do way better. He shits the bed. Then I thought that Fiziev would beat him. He beats Fiziev. I expected him to do way better against Khabib. He shit the bed. But then other times I've picked against him, like Tony Ferguson or Dustin Poirier in the rematch. This guy ends up pulling through and proving me wrong. So I did pick him accurately to beat Michael Chandler, by the way. But I don't want to run the risk of picking Dan, even though I could. I'm just going to say that, yeah, it's just going to be Dan Hooker, eats too many clean shots. He's going to play the brawling game with Justin Gaethje like he did against Dustin Poirier, who he did very well against, but I think the overall experience of Gaethje and the power advantage of Gaethje is going to be the ultimate factor in this fight. And I think as the rounds go on, Dan's probably going to be more beat up than Justin Gaethje is. And eventually Dan Hooker's probably going to crumble and get stopped late, similar to how Tony got stopped. This could even be similar to how Edson stopped him. Maybe Justin Gaethje invests in the body and finishes Dan with body shots. Or Gaethje could also chin Hooker in the first round. I mean, Chandler did. So, I don't know. I want Dan to win. I want him to keep up this win streak and challenge for the title, but Dan, he takes too much damage in his fights. I mean, Gamrot dropped him and hurt him and busted him up. I think a better, more experienced striker in Gaethje will probably do Hooker worse. So we'll see, but I can't wait. It's going to be a 5-round co-main event. So we know that it's going to be a bloody war, and this fight's got CTE written all over it. I don't have an official prediction on the main event. I mean, my initial lean is Alex. It could change, but I'd rather be wrong picking Alex than being wrong going with Magomed. And then Gaethje Hooker, for right now, I'm going to say Gaethje wins, but this is going to be a great card, even though right now we only have 2 great fights. I have a feeling this is going to turn out to be a stacked March pay-per-view. With that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe, and peace out.